Hello and welcome to the Patron Saints of Pop Culture podcast. As always, I am your co-saint, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I am Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about The Walking Dead, the whole of Season 8.
Yes. Well, if you have not yet seen the finale for Season 8, that was last week. Mm-hmm. A little anticlimactic, if you ask me, but we'll get to our review and summary here in just a little bit. So if you have not yet seen that, then go back and watch the entire season. We did do a episode on the very first episode of this season. So you can go back and listen to that as well and laugh at our predictions that did not come true.
We were horribly, horribly wrong.
Hey, I did say that Coral was going to happen something. If you have not yet stopped, we'll give you just a few minutes.
Well, I think they can stop it and come back to it.
Yes. Anyway, so let's get on to our review and summary. Summary for this season is a lot of build-up to a very short war between the saviors and the survivors, I guess you can call them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it. That's my summary.
I was like, and?
That's my summary. A lot of build-up to a very short war.
That's very true. Did we mention that? Wait, I can't remember. The Kingdom. Did that happen this season?
That happened this season.
Yep. So pretty much all of the Kingdom is dead. There's
all of the men, all the warriors. Yeah.
Yeah, all the fighters are dead. So like the children are still alive from the Kingdom, and just a very few people left, which is very sad. Sheba died, which is also very sad. And anyway, there's been, like you said,
only a model.
It was a lot of buildup. Like there was a lot of planning involved. There was a lot of, will this person really be backstabbing and that kind of stuff? And it really just kind of was flat.
Yeah, a lot of build-up to not a whole lot of payoff.
Yeah. Yeah, but the build-up, I did enjoy this season. Like, I did enjoy this season. I just didn't enjoy the season finale.
All right.
Yep.
You're getting into review territory, so.
Oh, yep. Go ahead. Hurry before
All right. I really did not like this season. I think that it was a lot of buildup. I do agree with a lot of the points that were made this season. Mm-hmm. I do feel like the season overall did a good job of displaying the points and really making their moral philosophical points that they were trying to make, mm-hmm. which I think was good. But overall, it wasn't a very entertaining season. There were quite a few deaths of people that we don't really care about. So, that was not very emotionally impactful. And then one big death, which I think threw a lot of people off, but I kind of saw it coming. Yeah. I saw that Coral was going to die. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you go back to listen to the other episode. Because what's his face? I can't remember the name of the actor, the child actor that plays him.
Oh, Chandler.
Chandler.
Briggs?
No, that's Briggs?
Briggs?
Maybe? I don't know. He's getting too old, and I think that he's getting too old to play the character, and that's the reason. Since it was only supposed to be 1.5, maybe 3 months from when season 6 ended to the end of season 8. So. Oh.
I thought it was a little bit longer than that, but I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's when the eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing was season 6.
Oh, yeah.
It says, as long as our son has been alive.
It's been a long time.
It has been. It's been over 2 years.
That is pretty long. Yeah, I didn't.
And so it's only in the showtime, it's only been like a month and a half, 3 months.
Maybe give or take, because I mean, like I said, Maggie's not showing yet. Like I said, before we actually started recording the podcast, but so she's not showing. So it clearly hasn't been that long at all, but I do feel like her hormones are kind of trying to dictate what she does. I mean, I've been there. I can say this because I was pregnant. I mean, hormones get all kinds of crazy when you're pregnant. So,
all right. What's your review?
My review, I liked the middle part of the season. I think there was a lot of like good episodes, like singular episodes sprinkled throughout, which I really enjoyed. There, I'm actually going to be talking about one of the major ones that I'm sure a lot of people won't be surprised by with us talking about it. But Carl's death didn't really strike me as being too sad. I mean, I was like, oh, okay.
I think his letter to Rick was a little bit more impactful than his actual death on screen.
I agree with that. And then the series finale or the season finale, like, and I was talking to a friend about this too. Like, it was just kind of over. Like, you know, they get to the point. It's very dramatic. Everybody, you like are kind of fearful, and then it just ends.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, okay, that's it.
A lot of rising action to not a real climax.
Yeah. I think that they were trying to get us with the surprise, but it wasn't.
Well, when you're telegraphing the surprise like a few episodes out.
Yeah. Yeah, it just wasn't that impactful of a surprise. It was just like, oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think that had Eugene not brought to light the error that Father Gabriel had, that
when he was making the bullets,
it would have been a little bit more climactic moment.
Yeah,
if he just kind of showed him like noticing the bullet and not saying anything about it, then it might have been another moment where you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And then you realize it was Eugene. So.
Meh, yeah. I don't know. I still am just like shrugging my shoulders. I still don't like Eugene. I don't care. I still think he's a jerk and that he needs to shave his head. And I just, nope.
Okay.
Nope, I don't like him.
So, the main theme of this season pretty much was, does a desire for retribution kill our humanity? And it really, I think you see this through Coral's vision in his letter to his father and talking to Rick about his vision for what Alexandria could be, for what the survivors' society could be, and that they can all live together in peace and harmony. And we find out that that's what we were seeing in the original episode that we talked about before, was that it was Coral's vision, not Rick's vision.
Yep.
It was that the interspersed scenes were Rick kind of at the end there crying about Carl's death and mourning, kind of that loss, I think loss of himself as well.
Yeah, I think he was just mourning over just the whole entire thing. Like, just everything that had happened since they found out about the Saviors until now.
Well, I think what in true The Walking Dead fashion, Carl became the moral compass. Mm-hmm. And because he became the moral compass, they killed him. Yep, because that's what we got to do whenever we get somebody who's on the right track. Well, and I think this had a lot to do with the very first episodes. You had Sadiq's warning, which is an Islamic mantra, which is "Let my mercy outweigh my wrath." And I think throughout the entire season, you see this in each of the characters. You see it in Gabriel, especially in the first episode and the second episode, where he's trying to think, should I go and help? Man, why am I blanking on his name? The former leader of Hilltop. Oh yeah, Gregory. should I go and help Gregory, or should I just keep firing and kill some of the walkers, because it's gonna be a bad situation here. Which, he does end up going and helping Gregory, and then he ends up getting locked in with Negan, and then even that entire episode with Negan, was kind of him, trying to put aside his anger towards Negan for what he believed was going on, and trying to be merciful and trying to be that priest instead. Is that, okay, do you have something to confess? Let me be a priest. Let me do my pastoral duty here. And I think this is for each and every one of the characters. Each of the characters kind of went through that arc of trying to figure out what was merciful and what was wrathful. And I think it took the entire season for Rick to get it. And I think it took Morgan calling Rick aside and saying, we are worse now than we were at the beginning.
Yeah.
That what we did there, you even said that my word, I will give you my word. And then you went and you killed them. Uh-huh. That makes you worse. That makes us worse. That we are not the people that we were at the beginning of this. And that's not a good thing. And I think that was a little bit through his own realization, his own kind of going nuts and seeing, all the dead people that he killed, and knowing that he had been through that process of reforming before, of knowing that all living things are beautiful, that life is beautiful in its way, and You saw a little bit of this in Sadiq, in Sadiq talking about his mother and how his mother believed that killing the walkers was setting them free. Yeah. That you have a soul that's trapped in this body that's still living, but it's not living. Yeah. And I think that it's that balance where Jesus kind of shows Morgan a little bit the way, is saying, no, this end for the living, this end for the dead. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know what is going on with Jesus in that final shot there with Jesus and Maggie and stuff like that. But
I know, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is something that is a kind of a moving towards, and I think this is something that we can all really take to heart from this. This is especially nowadays, and especially if you're living in the United States of America, where you have a whole lot of bad things happen, and we feel like retribution is our right, that revenge is our right, and we should be able to be angry and to want to take revenge on those who have hurt us and those who are still hurting us, and we're seeing that's not necessarily the best way to go about things. That sometimes forgiveness is much harder for those who have been victims. Yeah. Because ultimately it does sort of let the other person off the hook, but it's also, it means that they have to live with what they did. Yeah. And there are some people who will never understand what they did. They will never really fully comprehend that the immensity of what they set into motion. And I think this is going to be true for Negan on some level, is that he didn't realize how bad what he set into motion was. He didn't realize how bad Simon was. I'm really sure that Simon was the main person who was really just kind of awful. And Negan had it in his head that, oh yeah, I am the good guy because I am saving these people from themselves. I'm making them stronger and all this other stuff. But he didn't see that what he was also doing was also setting up bullies to take advantage of his system.
Yeah. And there was people, I mean, some of his other, I guess, group of second in command, because there's no really true second in command person, but some of them you could tell were had more of a heart than others. I can't remember his name, but the one that was in charge of overseeing the kingdom Like, he was more like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is something, like, I don't want to kill any of you guys, but this is what my boss tends to do. Like, I'm trying to work with you guys. Like, I want to make sure that you guys, like, live. And I truly believe that part of him really did believe that.
Yeah.
And I was kind of upset when, I mean, ultimately, if you think about it, Morgan was a person that really did kill him because he showed, I can't remember the kid's name.
I think it also started with an S, but I'm not sure.
I can't remember. But ultimately, like, he's the one that the kid was, like, looking up to and, like being a role model for this kid. And if Morgan had actually been the Morgan from before of, no, we need to respect people. We need to, I mean, it's one thing to defend ourselves.
Yeah, Morgan from season 6.
Yeah, exactly. And I just was, I was very,
6, season 7.
I was very disappointed when the second in command for the, I wish I remembered his name. I'm really disappointed that he was killed because I really wanted him to be saved and to be redeemed.
I think that's why he was the one that was keep coming back to Morgan in his visions. It was a sense of saying, I didn't need to die. I wasn't the one that needed to die. And it was kind of him that you know what it is. You know what it is. And that's why I think those were the words to Morgan throughout the entire season. And I really think that there is a big strength in mercy. There is a huge strength in mercy. Because when you are merciful, that really does show that there is a different way of living. And I think that whether or not Maggie's group gets into and kills Negan will see that there is a strength in living another way. That there can be peaceful. This is the end scene that Rick and Michonne were talking to Negan and saying, no, you're going to live. You're going to rot in a cell and you're going to watch and you're going to see that your way was not the right way. Which is, granted, I know that a lot of us view our current president as deserving something horrid, but I think the true strength of our character as Americans, I think, will come out in the mercy that we show him and showing him that, no, there is a better way. There is a better way of non-racism. There is a better way of treating everyone with respect and purpose and treating everyone as if they can contribute to society, that they can make something good. Like this vision that Coral had and Carl. And
I know that's our bad.
Yeah. I even wrote it down that way too, Coral. And I think that's what made the letter from Carl to Rick so impactful was that him sharing that vision and it was just that walk with his father, and that everything was right in the world for him. And that's what he believed, that everything could be again. And I think this is a way that we should start viewing the way that our country is now, is that there is hope. There's hope that one day we can walk down the street. We can take a walk with our parents and our family, and everything's going to be okay. The whole world will make sense again one day. And I think we talked about this a little bit was it last week with Hope? Crocodile? No. Lemony Snicket's Series of Unfortunate Events. That's what we talked about it. And I really think that it's a matter of hope and not letting our desire for retribution kill our humanity in the process.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the reasons why Rick didn't want to read the letter was because he probably already knew what it said inside. He probably already knew. He knew that his son went back out to save a stranger. So I have no doubt that Rick already knew what was in the letter, and he just didn't want to face the truth yet. Anyway, my turn. So I instead of talking about specific themes, because I believe that your theme that you mentioned, the being merciful is pretty much the main theme there.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about two of the characters that kind of got me thinking, I guess. The first one, which probably is no surprise to our listeners, because he's one of our favorite characters. We kind of love to hate him, but then sometimes we do love him, but sometimes we go back to hating him, is Father Gabriel.
Well, he does play a big part in, I think, all 4 of our episodes that we've talked about The Walking Dead so far.
It's true, yeah. Well, but everybody's gone on a roller coaster journey of character building. Yeah. But he definitely is one of those that he acknowledges what he did was wrong. He's not, what I'm talking about is, of course, when we first meet him, when we learn that he locked his congregation out of the church. Yeah. He acknowledges that that's wrong. He's not afraid to tell people that that's what he did, which I think is also a sign of strength, like not hiding your past, like saying, I did this, and it was completely it was completely terrible of me to do. Like, I hit a weakness. I was at my lowest low, and now I'm trying to make up for it. And that takes a lot of strength. A lot of people like to hide their weaknesses like that and don't tell anybody, what they have done wrong. But I think that it's good to acknowledge the nightmares in our past, because it really was a nightmare for him. But my favorite episode of the season was the episode where Father Gabriel and the doctor were trying to get back to Hilltop. And in the process, Father Gabriel, he's clearly sick, so he's needing to get to Hilltop as well, because there's medicine at the Hilltop. And so there's kind of like a dual thing there. Like, the doctor needs to get there for Maggie, and then Gabriel needs to get there to heal. Throughout the episode, as you guys probably remember, all of a sudden their luck starts to pick up. They're walking through the forest, and, they come across a house, and they're like, oh, good. And then they get into the house, and all of a sudden there's antibiotics there, and then there's a radio there, and it just kind of builds up, and you see Father Gabriel is building himself up too, saying hey, this is a path laid out for us. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We are on the right track. This is God, leading us forward. And you can see his faith again is starting to build up. Which I feel like he himself, this is a completely human characteristic and is very realistic, especially in clergy, where they do have ebbing and flowing of their own faith, which is normal because they're people too. But in the end, at the end of that episode, it all comes tearing down. He's just he was built up to have so much hope and so much joy, only to be caught by Negan again and brought back and to be thrown into a workshop to essentially do menial labor. And it tears apart his spirit. You can see it. He's completely heartbroken that he built himself up to this level of faith again, only to be thrown back down.
Well, I wouldn't call that faith. I would say that it's more believing in a level of believing in divine intervention.
What do you mean? Expand on that.
Because I don't define faith that way. I define faith as more of a homesickness for knowing what the world is supposed to be like. And that was more a belief in a divine intervention, that he realized, he was like, oh yeah, the divine is going to intervene for us. The divine is going to intervene for us. And the divine is going to intervene for us, which we all know that the world doesn't work that way. This is like church lady land that, the divine is going to intervene for us. And no, sometimes the divine doesn't intervene for anybody. It doesn't happen that way. And, sometimes crap just happens. And this is that thing, is that, that those coincidences that they happen to find,
coincidence,
keys and a map and
antibiotics
and a car. They're coincidences.
Yep.
because ultimately the doctor finds a bear trap and gets killed. And
Yep. But also, in the end, the path that led him to being caught again and being thrown to be working in the workshop with Eugene ultimately did lead his group to victory.
Yeah.
Because if Eugene hadn't have sabotaged the bullets the way he did, there's no way they would have been alive. They were literally in a fishbowl. Like, they would have been brought down to their knees. Like, everybody would have died.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Rick's group, not the Saviors. So really, him being torn back down ultimately did lead to good, I think.
Well, I mean, it really depends. Well, I guess, you know,
in his story.
Yeah, in his story, and making the bullets the way that he did, that kind of inspire Eugene. But you know, I think really was the talk with Rosita that set Eugene on the right path, even though he made himself vomit up that disgusting sardine mac and cheese on her.
Yeah, that's another thing that I just don't like Eugene. Like, because I'm like, I get that he wanted to get back there, and maybe it did really spur him into action, but doesn't he remember how terrible it felt to have members of his group like killed in front of him? I don't know. Anyway. Another person I want to talk about too is Jesus. I know we were joking last week about how Jesus hasn't been in the season very much. Like, he's been in the background.
We found Jesus.
We did find Jesus. In fact, as soon as I saw him, I was like, I found him. And for him too, he has also been a moral compass. So that also kind of worries me because, like you said, moral compasses tend to
get axed on the show.
Yes. And he is the one that is constantly convincing people, like, not to kill. He's the one that convinced Maggie to not kill the saviors that they have entrapped, to instead bring them back to her place and to, you know, pin them down, still keep them alive. And it ultimately, it kind of halfway worked. I mean, half the people in there decided to stay and decided to join, you know, the hilltop, where, you know, the other half decided to go back. So he wasn't 100% wrong, and neither was she. But still, he also then, as you said, like, convinces Morgan to turn his stick, if you will, to have, you know, the blunt end be for the living.
Turn the other end.
Yep. So when we get to that final scene of Maggie, you know, wanting to plot to actually kill Negan, I don't really think she wants to kill Rick. I do think she wants to take revenge on what Rick did, but I don't think she wants to kill him. It really surprised me when Jesus was just like, yep. I'm like, wait, what?
he's just going to convince her to shave off Rick's eyebrows and his beard.
Oh, is that what they're going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's in the middle of the night. They're going to put, like, shaving cream in his hands.
But he seemed okay with killing Negan too, which I'm like, do you not remember the conversation you had with Morgan earlier in this episode about not killing people? Like, what? But that is also very much true to life. Like, I feel like both Father Gabriel, what he went through, and Jesus is not as moral as what we thought he was, ness to him, are very true to life. There's many people out there, I'm sure a lot of you can think of some great examples too, of people who you thought, or people who other people thought were great examples of good moral character, only to find out that they had a terrible, terrible, terrible secret. You know, like how many times have, you know, groups or leaders of religious groups come out to be like pedophiles or, you know, embezzling money and that kind of stuff. It happens all the time.
Yep.
It happens all the time. So it's not too far-fetched to have Jesus, be telling everybody, hey, don't be killing, only for him to be like, but it's okay to kill Negan. Because there's nobody who's that moral. Well, there's a few people in the world that are that moral, but they're very rare.
Well, I really do think that they really aren't going to kill Rick. I think Maggie's language is just a little harsh in that last scene. And in fact, there was a tweet from Norman Reedus like the day after that said, "Don't worry, we're not going to kill Rick." I wouldn't betray my brother Rick.
But they're still angry at him, though. So I still think that they're going to get back to him somehow, even if it is just killing Negan, because I think Rick will be very upset.
Well, I think that, I also find it funny because Norman Reedus and, why can't I remember the name of the guy who plays Rick? Anyway, they have an ongoing prank war behind the scenes of The Walking Dead. So that's why I say, they're just gonna go shave off his eyebrows in the middle of the night.
Oh, gotcha.
The prank war is going to actually happen on screen now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So even I don't know how you got me derailed. So are we just gonna end it? We're good.
If you're done with your section, sure. Okay. Well, these are the things that we talked about, the principles in the parable today. We talked about how desire for retribution is bad. Okay. So, it's not really the desire, but acting out the retribution of fully going down that path of retribution, because we end up becoming the monsters that we fight against. Mm-hmm. And I think this happens way too often, especially if you look at the modern church, this is what has happened to them. I think is that they have been wanting this retribution so bad they've become the monsters that they wanted to fight against.
They're the moral compass that's not really that moral.
Exactly. And so that's the moral path that they've lost. They've lost the main moral path, and they've lost this whole concept of what really is a divine path, which is letting your mercy outweigh your wrath. And I think that's pretty much a wrap up of season 8 of The Walking Dead. I think they were a little heavy-handed on it, maybe a bit, but
I think I think just in general though, it's a good way to live your life.
Yeah.
I always find that I feel better about, myself and what I've done if I am more merciful.
Yeah.
Even if I know somebody, treated me wrong or did me wrong, like if I take the moral high ground and I am more merciful, yes, that makes me a little full of myself pointing that out, but I think I'd feel way worse about myself, about what I did, if I also treated them poorly.
And I think this is also a story that, you can go back to even Jonah. Jonah sitting outside of Nineveh waiting for them to be destroyed, and sitting, the prophet Jonah.
I'm thinking, is that the kid's name?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, of Bible Jonah sitting as... No, I know. That's not his name.
Okay.
And waiting for the destruction to happen. And I think that, yes, some legal action should be taken on our current president of the United States, because he has broken the law several times. But I also don't want to see any harm come to him. I don't want him to befall violence. I don't want him to be the victim of violence, even though he has treated others with the violence in the past.
Yep. Well, and let's be fair. It's not just the president.
Yes. It goes much deeper than that.
Yes, it's not just the president. Don't even get me started on Jeff Sessions. That little elf that makes cookies.
Anyway, let's wrap this up now. We're getting way off track. So these are the things that are coming up in the next few weeks. Next week, we are going to be talking about the Avengers Infinity War. We are going to go see that on Friday. Yay!
Huzzah!
So, yes, we are going to be talking about that. And then we're going to have the week after that, Lost in Space. We have not yet begun that series. I'm a little afraid, too, considering that I'm seeing some reviews coming out and saying that it's boring. But hopefully it will be good, because I do enjoy a good space sci-fi. And after that, we are going to be talking about Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 1. So we're going to be talking about that coming up.
Should we just give a trigger warning right now?
Probably. Yeah, there's a lot there, and maybe I'll try to contact Lynn again to maybe give us another few sentences for us to talk about.
If she wrote anything on this episode, because she doesn't write on all of them.
No, but yeah, if she wrote anything for this season, you know, we'll get something from her. Anyway, if you've got any feedback about today's episodes, any previous episodes, or any future episodes, give us a call or leave us a voicemail at 720-372-3879. Again, that is 720-372-3879. That is a Google Voice number. And so it'll say the Google Voice customer that you are trying to reach is not available at this time. Yeah, that's us. So just leave us a voicemail or a text. Also, you can find us on social media. You can give us feedback that way as well to continue the conversation. We are on Facebook. We are on Reddit. We are on Tumblr. We're on Twitter. We're on basically almost every social media place that you can find us. You can also find us on our website, thehonestfaith.com. which you can see all of the other things that we have going on, including our Twitch stream of us playing Divinity Original Sin, which this last week you get to hear us talking about the wonders of parenting a toddler that is going through potty training. So
yes. So if you are afraid of mentions of butts, you probably shouldn't watch our stream. Our stream.
Our stream, yes. it is us unfiltered, so it is quite entertaining if you want to get to understand who we are behind the scenes a little bit. So yeah, come and find us. Let us know, because we would love to know that you are listening and that you enjoy hearing us blather on about pop culture and about our over-obsessiveness in finding moral philosophy points throughout our pop culture moments.
And don't forget to please subscribe to us on any platform that you listen to us on. And please don't forget to write a nice review. Also, we are soon to be on Spotify. Hopefully, we are being reviewed currently by them. Our host platform, Spreaker, is actually partnering with Spotify recently, and so we have submitted for review on that. So you may be able to find us on Spotify soon. So yay, that would be awesome. More places for us to be listened to. So with all of that being said, we invite you to come and join